Hi, my name is Mandolin Royal, and today I'm back in my barn for step 2 of juggling around some birds without actually changing the population. So I'm just sitting here watching these merged adults get along famously, so that little plan worked. If it didn't work, I'd be looking for the culprit of who was causing all the flock drama, and then also questioning the male on why he wasn't keeping the peace for the females that are getting to know each other, because it's his job to keep everybody in line, and he seems to be doing that because it's going great. So now I'm going to go into the first pen, grab the other birds, put them in here, go to the second pen, grab those birds, put them in here, and then observe for a little while, see if that's going well. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll watch them for a little bit and see how that actually goes, because the age difference is about 3 to 4 weeks, depending on which birds I'm thinking of. So let me stop procrastinating and get started. Alright, this pen is now empty. I had 7 pullets in here, and 5 made the move over to that empty pen I had. 2 of them were too thin and underwhelming to continue growth. They were not going to pan out for the freezer side of things. And with an eye on efficient flock keeping and doing what's right for the flock and getting them guided to where I want to be, these are the 5 who came on over. So my next step now is to clean out this pen and get it ready for a group of boys coming out of the brooders. Now, my white Holland turkeys, I like them a lot, and this is a little group that's in here growing out, but I really want this pen for cockerel grow out to keep them in the barn where we do our processing. So I'm going to systematically phase out turkeys and just do all chicken, streamlining our efforts, so to speak. This is the group of boys that'll get their pen once the turkeys have moved on. And then later, subsequent groups of more cockerels. Now these guys, I'm going to go ahead and do my other chores, and then I'll shift these guys over. Because this male here, he's pushing 10 weeks old. And I'm curious on if he's going to be sweet to those younger pullets, or if he's going to be a little bossy. So I'm giving the other pullets time to get settled before I bring these others over and repeat that process of cleaning out this pen and preparing it for a group of pullets to go into, to get my brooders emptied out, cleaned out, and then immediately refilled. It's one of those big chore days that I spread over 2 days just because of all the cleaning work. Every time I change spaces around, I clean it before I do anything else with the space. So far, these girls are taking it all in, and the neighbors are all watching. They always want to know what I'm up to when I'm out in this barn, and they're pretty familiar with how I roll. So I'm going to get back at it, do some more pen mucking, and some more bird moving. Now, as far as pen cleaning goes, these are my 2 preferred tools when we're using this extra fine pine that I can deep litter to an extent. But this antique scoop shovel is beautiful. It's lasted for a long time now. And then just a regular leaf rake to rake up all those little bits of poo and feathers and stuff until I have a pretty clean bottom going on. Scoop all that out into a 2-wheel cart, and then I add a little bit of agricultural lime to sort of treat the bottom and dry it out more. And then I'm going to add fresh shavings right on top. And if you can't tell, I am totally procrastinating right now. So let me go ahead and get to it, and we'll move on with this day. So I got it all raked up, shoveled out, treated it with about 2 pounds of agricultural lime inside of this 5x7 pen. This is all of the material that came out of the pen. It's really not too terrible. Not too poopy. Everything's pretty dry. And that dryness is exactly what you want. You do not want your birds piled on top of damp anything, really. Poultry, birds in general, they don't like moisture. It's bad for them. And the agricultural lime takes it to a whole other level of dryness. So next I'm going to grab another bale of the fine flake shavings, dump that in, spread it out, get the food and water put back. And then I can start grabbing some boys to put in here. And then I'll do the same thing all over again with the next pen, but you don't need to see me do it twice. So I'll leave that part out. Alright, this 5x7 pen means I have 35 square feet to work with. I went and counted the boys I have in mind to put here, and there's 17 of them. So based on that math, that means 2 square foot per bird, and they are like 5 weeks old. So I'm going to see what that looks like, but I'm also going to do a little sorting as I go through these birds, because there's a potential chance the absolute bottom performers against their peers, they might not be moving into this pen so that everyone else gets enough space. I don't know. I'm going to get my hands on them and figure it out, and I'll let you know what I find. Alright, I got into the 2 brooders that held all those boys, and as it turns out, there was 1 pullet. So it is 16 males, and I went ahead and sorted them out to get a feel for what was going on with this group. They all hatched on the same day, and they've been growing out to the best of their ability. And we got 3 who were bottom performers for size. They just didn't stack up to be as good as the average. The average group is the biggest group, and I found some reasons that they ought to go to the freezer. Between their development so far, leg color, combs, you know, those little nitpicky details, these guys are probably going to go on to serve the other purpose of why we do all this extra effort to get the freezer meat. And that left 4 who are above average, better than the bulk, and significantly better than the bottom 3. So with this in mind, I think there's plenty of room in that pen right now for both of these 2 groups. And I'm probably going to nitpick these 4 and find my absolute favorite 2 and stick them with the girls. And the other 2 can go with the boys. And I'll reevaluate that pen here in another 2 weeks or so. Or the very moment that I notice the space is a little too tight for how many I put in there. But for now, let me go ahead and move the bulk of them over and show you what that sort of stocking density means in that sort of pen. You guys let me know in the comments if you want to know my reasons on why I prefer these 2 over these 2. And I'll do that video by itself. But for now, these 2 are going to move over with the other group, which is going to give us 14 birds in that space. And next I'll show you what that looks like. So this is the spacing of what it looks like if you have 2.5 square feet per bird at 5 weeks old. This actually looks pretty good for today, and we're gonna keep an eye on it and monitor over the next several weeks so that we can figure out when it's time to thin them out a little bit and improve space for everyone else. Well, this will do for now, so I'm gonna move on to the next pen and do all this again, but for the pullets. Alright, my next step is introducing the oldest male from my pen that I want to merge with this pen to see how he responds to these much younger pullets. Is he going to be showing them the food and being polite? Or is he going to walk into this new pen and try to stake a claim and be awful? I don't know. Let's find out. He's the preferred male choice out of his hatch batch, so I'm really hopeful he does this right. Let's go ahead and drop him in here and see what happens. Man, he feels meaty. What do you think, buddy? You gonna be nice? A very casual approach. The recognition of, I don't know who these girls are. Just based on the initial response, I'm going to go ahead and start grabbing the other girls that are in his pen from where he came from, while keeping an ear out. But so far, this is exactly right. Big size difference from that age difference. But so far, he's doing the right things. So I'm gonna keep going. And if I have to pull him back out, and then I pull him back out, and it's just gonna be that way. But for now, I think this is gonna work. Nice. I love it when it goes well the first time. Alright, back to work. Alright, I just added the 4 ladies he had in with the group of him and the other 5 ladies. And so far, business as usual. They're gonna sort out their differences and figure out everyone has enough resources. And these guys are going to camp out here for a while. Well, this is plenty of room for everybody to reach their potential and become friends. Alright, now to clean out the pen they came from and put all the pullets in there. So back at it. Alright, here's the group of girls all in their new pen with the 2 preferred males from the boy group. So far, everyone's excited to be here and figuring things out with their new expanded space. And then this little one is from a different batch entirely. It was the smallest in its group and didn't get to leave. So I just bounced it into the next group that was closest in age. And now it's thriving. It didn't have that great of a start compared to its peers, but now it's fitting in pretty good. So you can just keep on doing its little chicken thing as we go through our cycles, our routines, and our methods. So next, I'm going to look one more time in that first pen and make sure everyone's doing all right before I head back to the house and do my other chores. All right, they're hanging in 2 different groups, but there's been no drama. So I feel pretty confident leaving the barn and coming back tomorrow to the same number of birds. Now earlier I had mentioned that there were 7 of the younger pullets and 5 moved over. So the population did change by -2, but at the end of the day, I feel pretty okay with saving resources for the better growing birds that had everything I was looking for. The other 2, they would have needed space for at least another 10 weeks and all of the resources that go into that. So it seemed to make sense to go ahead and pull them out of population and preserve the resources for these guys. So all in all, another full day. I didn't show the hard parts. Just the topical overview of the kind of work you might be signing up for if you want to do this sustainable, dual-purpose, self-breeding, owning the entire process from breeding stock to freezer filling and on through those generations. It's a little bit more than just buying birds and doing the thing. Gets pretty intense when you take it seriously. Alright, back at it, and I'll get this thing posted so you guys can see what I was up to today. Some more on this later. Feel free to like and subscribe. I'm going to try to show you the inside view of everything I got going on here. I'm doing this chicken thing. More on this later.